So I'm gonna share the story about Tony and Carla, Mr. Tony and Miss Carla, right? So I meet Miss Carla through some events and stuff. She's out in the community doing stuff, raising money for air conditioners for the elderly, and doing the food drives and stuff where underprivileged families can come out and get like the box setup thingy. You know what I'm talking about? Like where you like everybody gets the same thing. You it's like an assembly line. You be in there. You be like one person is putting cereal in the boxes, other people's putting beans in them. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So Miss Carla was in charge of that, right? So I met her. We become fast friends and everything. She liked to boss me around. She's like a little general, like 5 foot nothing. I think she like 5'1", 102 pounds of dynamite, like a dynamo, right? And so I meet her. We become friends and stuff on Facebook. She always putting out messages: be positive, don't let the devil take you off your all this stuff. That's her, right? In the church, all of that stuff, right? So I'm at a function and this is a few years later, I meet Mr. Tony. Tony, that's my man. He like 20 years older than me. He's like, he is like my big, he's like my big brother type. He's that big brother type person in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like always telling the most inappropriate jokes and be like, yeah, man, it's time to pray. And then like you kind of get in that prayer mindset or whatever. And then he tell you like an inappropriate joke. Hey, Uncle Freezer, come here. Let me tell you something before you go up there. Yo, this lady invited the handyman over to put the light bulb in. And like he tell an inappropriate joke and it's harmless, but it's hilarious at the same time. He's that guy, right? But Mr. Tony is also, um, I think he spent 25 years in the Marine Corps, right? Spent 25, something like that, like 25 years in the Marine Corps. He spent like 25 or 30 years with the railroad. I don't know how the numbers match up, but he retired from one and then was able to retire from the other. I don't know the years exactly. I don't know, but for the sake of the story, he retired from the Marine Corps. He retired from the railroad. Right. I'm at a function with Tony. Right. Tony, he's sharp, man. He dressed nice. You know what I'm saying? Always, you know what I'm saying? He's sharp, man. He a sharp dude, man. Sharp dude for an old timer, man. Real sharp guy. Right. And then I see Miss Carla. And I'm like, hey, look who here. You know what I'm saying? I see her. And Tony nudging me like, hey, she fine in it. Like, man, I'm married. She all right. He's like, no, look at her. Look how she walk. Look how she walk. Look like everything stopped when she be walking. Right? I'm like, okay, that lady like 70. That lady, this is me like guessing. That lady like 60, 55, 60 years old, man. What you talking about? I think she my age. This is Tony talking to me. I think she my age. I think me and her might have went to school together. So Miss Carla come over where we at. And she's like, hey, Tony. And I'm like, hey, you know her? And Tony's like, oh, let me introduce you to my wife. This is my wife, Carla. And Carla was like, I know Uncle Freezy, Tony. Uncle Freezy be coming down to do blah, 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 blah. Right? So Tony is a recently retired everything. Marines, railroad. So he trying to find something to do with his time. Right? Right? Trying to find something to do with his time. So Miss Carla is the same. Miss Carla told me, she was like, yep. This is Miss Carla telling me after the fact. I didn't know. She was telling me after the fact. Yeah, my father never liked Tony. My father didn't want me to move, you know what I'm saying, from around here and marry a Marine. He was like, y'all 18 years old. You shouldn't be getting married at 18. You don't know what's going to be out there. You don't get. So at 18 years old, they get married. He goes off away to basic training, right? He goes to Vietnam. That is the Vietnam era, everybody. So it's like that. I don't know if he was in Vietnam. I don't know what he all what he did. But she moved away and they got married, and she put the whole time she was going to school, Tony was paying for her to go to school. But he wouldn't let her work. He's like, your housewife need to stay at home. Take care of the house. So all the 20 years while Tony is in the Marine Corps, he moving from place to place. He taking Carla with him, you know what I'm saying, and all these things. Eventually they have a baby, you know what I'm saying. She stay home, take care of the baby, you know what I'm saying. All these different things going on, but Tony wouldn't let her work. Tony was like, no, stay home with the baby. I'll make the money. I don't want you going out here making a living when I can do it. So Tony got Miss Carla staying at home. Meanwhile, she's graduating from this college, getting this degree, graduating from another college, getting a master's, all these different things, right? All these different things, but Tony wouldn't let her work. So they get out of the military. They move back home. They move back to our community. Tony get a job with the railroad. Tony worked for the railroad for up 10,000 years. He worked more years than he needed to retire, but he did it because he felt like he didn't have nothing else to do. But the day comes where Tony retires. Still in good shape, great shape. Tony took care of himself. He was a Marine. He took care of himself. He walked, he ran every morning until he got to the point where he just had to walk every morning. Great shape, you know, no major ailments, no nothing. Tony was in great shape, right? Tony's still in good shape. Still in pretty good shape. So Tony is at the Waffle House, or the Huddle House, I'm sorry, one morning. And a chick sees Tony. And here's Tony talking to his friends about how he retired from the Marine Corps, how he retired from the railroad, and how, you know, life is good, you know, money coming in. He worked all his life for this moment right here. Right? Right? He did. I'm with there with Tony. It was a Saturday morning breakfast. It was a Saturday morning breakfast. The fellas just get out, go to a place. You know, we just sit down and eat breakfast. It's about 20 or 30 of us. We just go out and eat breakfast. And I'm like the youngest one of the crew, right? I think I'm at this time, man, maybe. I'm younger than them. Let's just put it like that. So I'm like the baby of the crew to them. I see the girl walk up to Tony, right? And I see Tony like, nah, you know, I'm married, you know, walk away, all that stuff. Right? We think nothing of it. It's about 20 of us. We think nothing of it. So we're at another function, this time at night. It's about 3 months later. Tony's sitting by himself in a dark. Like all this stuff is going on upstairs. And then downstairs, there's like a stage and like a presentation area. And off in the shadows, like in the back of the room, I see Tony. I hear something like... And it startled me. I walk over. I sit down by Tony, put my hand on his knee, like, what's up, young fella? Because that's how he used to do me. What's going on, young fella? Look like you trouble. So I walk over and say, hey, Tony, what's going on, man? I see him. He like, hey, Uncle Freezy, I done messed up. Like, what? You got a flat tire or something? You need money for gas? Like, no. Fool, I'm talking about messed up. Like, messed up what, man? You living the life, bro. You done retired from the Marine Corps. You retired from the railroad. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got nothing to do except live. You're like, no. You remember that girl from the breakfast? What breakfast? You know. No, I don't know. Oh, you know. The fine chickaboo that came by. And I'm like, yeah, what about it? She messed up your card? She stole money from you? Like, no. I had relations with her. Tony, no, you didn't. I'm like, yo, you got to tell Miss Carla, no, that ain't it. Me and her was in a relationship. What? Y'all in a relationship? You definitely got to tell Miss Carla right now. Does Carla know? Miss Carla know? I'm about to go home and tell her right now. I was like, hey, man, you tell her, but no matter how late it is, you call me so I can make sure you're all right. What Tony didn't tell me was this chickaboo that he met, it was at the time, she's pregnant. Tony goes home and he tells Miss Carla all these things. Right? And Miss Carla puts him out of the house, out of their house. They had a nice little dove shack. They had been paying for it for years. Even when they was out of town in the Marine Corps, they would rent it out and let people stay there to help them pay for it. That was going to be their retirement house, right? It is was their retirement house. They bought it. They bought it while they was young and then paid for it along and along. By the time, whatever, they pay their house off, all this stuff. They live in, they got their house, man, right, still in the neighborhood, right? She put him out the house. He don't have nowhere to go. He stay in the hotel, right? I called Tony. I'm like, Tony, what's good? Tony is like, she could almost accept the cheating part. She just couldn't accept the relationship and the baby. And I'm like, the baby? Because I didn't know at this time. Remember, Tony had just told me that he messed with her. He hinted around that they had a relationship and the baby. Right? Miss Carla couldn't accept that. She couldn't accept that she put her life on hold for 20 years for this man, and he go out and have a baby from a woman that he barely even know. This man struck up a relationship in retirement. This man was like 68, 69 years old, right? Having a baby with a woman that he barely even knew. So everything that we thought about Mr. Tony leading up to that point is out the window, right? We're like, bro, how can you mess up this thing that you got? And he kept telling me, man, we didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened. Things happen. And I tell, man, no, things don't just happen. You don't accidentally have sex with a woman that you don't even know. So now the lady won't even let him see the little baby girl because her 22-year-old boyfriend don't like Tony. So this lady that he messed with is like 31, 32. She got a 22-year-old boyfriend that's in the game, but he always broke, don't have no money. He a broke dope boy. And yeah, he broke now. He broke, right? And Tony's daughter, this 2-year-old little girl, is being raised around that. Meanwhile, Miss Carla is living her best life. She has moved on. And no, they are not divorced. They are just apart. They are not divorced. They are apart. Tony is on social media every day begging for another chance. Miss Carla put a post out there about her and her friends from church going to eat dinner after church. And Tony, in his crying ass, is in the comments, baby, please, give me another chance. I'm sorry. Tony, every time Tony see Carla, he is on his knees and he don't care. He is on his knees and he don't care. Right? Tony got advice from his homeboy to say, hey, let's go to counseling. And Miss Carla says, counsel what? She never made a mistake. She never cheated on Tony. The only thing she did was uprooted her life and supported Tony through all the stuff that he wanted to do. And the one time she could get Tony to herself, this fool go out and have a baby with a skank that got a drug dealer living with them in her mama's house. This ain't even the skank's house. The skank is living with her mama, and the drug dealer is living in with them and Tony baby. The lady that cheated with Tony don't even have her own crib. She lives with her mom's. Still. With the fake drug dealer boyfriend, they're in the house. And Tony little girl. Right? So I saw Miss Carla, I guess it was like a year ago. And I asked, hey, Miss Carla, how you doing? She's like, I'm great. I'm fantastic, Uncle Freezy. I know you want to go back and tell your friend that you saw me. Tell him I am doing fine by myself. So I see Tony, and like 3 months later, he's like, hey, man, she ain't never gave me another chance. I was like, Tony, you know what she told me, man? I'm sorry. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but she said she is doing fine by herself. And you can see the tears well up in Tony's face. Right? So the end of this story, I don't have a moral to it. It's just an ending of this story. The ending of this story goes like as such. Tony finally gets Miss Carla to talk to him. They go out on a day date. Right? A day date. Nothing major. Ain't no holding hands. Ain't no hugging. Ain't no kissing. She makes Tony start all over from scratch. So right now they are dating. Right? On the first date, Tony had to begin with, hi, my name is Tony. All of that because Tony he has to start all over from scratch with the love of his life because he was in a relationship with a jigaboo. Anyway, I'm your main man, Uncle Freezy. Check out Vibes and Stuff live in the mornings, Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m.-ish to about 9:30, 10-ish. Peace, y'all.